After Hours.
On this episode of the History of the Course After Hours podcast, we discuss the Nailed Dead Risen band from Riverside, California, known as Impending Doom. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at IsSurviveByPro for news and the latest episode postings. And make sure to subscribe to the show, leave us a 5-star review, and write us a comment on YouTube or whatever podcast service you're using. And if you'd like to see us do some live streams, leave us a comment or tweet us the keyword stream. Now, without further ado, let's start the show.
The devil is in Atlanta, army surrounded.
Welcome back to the History of the Course After Hours podcast, where each and every episode I, Curtis, sit down with my good friend and avid listener to the History of the Course podcast, Erik. Erik, how's it going, buddy?
Oh, pretty good. Yeah, it's a lazy old Saturday.
In
preparation for today's wonderful episode, I went and got some of the Lord's chicken.
I'm surprised. I've never heard anybody else say that before. The Lord's chicken.
There you have it.
Yeah. Open on Sunday. I don't know. I get it, but it's like, dude, they be making a killing on Sundays. All those people after
They're
church
still,
be flooding
right?
over there. Holy cow.
They're still out making the money from, I don't know, I think McDonald's. I think they passed McDonald's, and anyway.
That wouldn't shock me one bit. Not one bit, man. One day soon, they'll have a 2-story Chick-fil-A. I always said like Walmart needs. I was like, I need to see a 2-story Walmart. That'd be pretty sick.
I think there's one in Dallas.
Wouldn't surprise me there.
I think the lower floor is Sam's Club, and then the one above it is actually Walmart. But
Okay. I actually, you know what? Now that I think of it, I may have heard that before because that sounds familiar.
It's a wild looking building, I can tell you that.
Yeah, this is not what we do on this podcast. But
it totally is.
This is what we like to start off with. Random nonsense and information just for you folks.
Derailed.
All right. Yeah, derailed. We've got our Walmart reference in. We've got our Lord's chicken in. I think we're good. I think we're ready to go, Erik. I think we're prepared. I think we're warmed up, ready to go. We're loose.
Woo.
So let's go ahead and do it, Erik. Today we're going to be talking about the band known as Impending Doom. Doom. Alrighty, man. As always, I like to start off with 2 generic questions on every episode. How were you, Erik, introduced to the band known as Impending Doom?
This is one that it's always been on the roster. I've always known about it, but I can't say that I've ever actually listened to them. It's just, okay. I don't know. It's one of those that until the, first run around with y'all's podcast, I was like, I don't know. Just never gave them a shot.
You at least heard of them, though. Okay.
Others.
Well,
I've heard of them. Absolutely.
That's what we're here for, though, Erik. Me and Josh are here to get you to the ledge and then just kick you off of it,
Push the little birdie out.
Now get out there and listen to it. Okay, so now you've really listened to them. Have you listened to all of their albums?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so now you got a little grasp. Brand new listener comes up to you, Erik, and says they would like to know what they're about to get into. So how would you describe Impending Doom to a brand new listener?
Well, for the most part, after the first album, right? Because the first album's different.
When we start getting into
after that first album, where their sound kind of ends up staying throughout their discography, more or less.
Right.
I would say the heavy end of As I Lay Dying.
Okay.
There's not a lot of that singing stuff. No, I just don't need that. Just
what's singing stuff. Singing.
And in some very overarching, broad brush strokes kind of terms, it gets pretty close to like some breakdown core throughout parts of it.
Okay.
Some especially through certain chunks of discography. It really feels that breakdowny, lots of blast beats, lots of chug-a-luggy guitars, like I said, that's very broad brushstrokes there, but
Right. Okay. All right. Not bad. It's a nice little painting you've created there for me.
very broad
Okay.
brushstrokes.
Very broad. Happy trees. Happy impending doom. Happy impending doom. All right. So, me and Josh, we discussed in length on the original episode my apprehension to really connect the genre that they're categorized in, the definition of deathcore, to the Christian background that they come in with, and themes really found in their lyrics and everything. Again, though, to reiterate my stance, I'm good with them. I like Impending Doom now. I'm kind of like with you. I had known about him, but never really gave him a shot before until we decided to do an episode about it. I was like, okay, I'll do a nice little deep dive on it. But um, I'm good with them, and I respect the fact that regardless of the stereotypes that I personally place on the genre of deathcore, Impending Doom stays true to who they are and what they believe in while playing the music that they like. And that was a big thing that Josh kept saying was, if it's one thing to be like, okay, I believe in this and that, but it's like if you enjoy this type of music and you don't want to do that, it's like go do that and bring your message with it, and that's cool. It's so hard to like just picture deathcore and then we're gonna bring these Christian themes into it because it's just like it just doesn't seem right. I don't want to say right, but it just doesn't seem like it just mixes. But they make it work in the end. So, but anyway, to say all that, you've heard both of our thoughts on it. What is some of your personal thoughts on that subject?
Yeah, I get you. I feel you at that apprehension for sure.
Right.
If you step back kind of really far, it feels like, and take a look at it, you know, it actually makes a
Way
good
back.
amount of sense. Yeah, whoa.
Whoa.
A lot of metal
Is
has
this
that,
far back?
maybe more,
Keep
but
going.
a lot of metal has a focus of really heavy themes, and that's where you get death metal a lot of times. But anyway,
Right.
Impending Doom and Zayo and others like that, they give you that little glimmer of hope, which I think is kind of interesting. Especially like you said, they sing what they want to sing with the
Right.
music that they like.
Hope in
I
a dark
know
place.
when I think of Christian music, I think of I had a friend told me a joke in high school.
Oh no.
A couple of jokes. Yes, here we go in high school, right?
Oh boy, here we go.
One was all right, we're gonna play some Jesus music. You guys ready? And everybody around us is like, what are we talking about? He pulls out his acoustic guitar and goes, and we're playing a G chord, we're playing a C chord, we're
Nice.
praising the yeah, it
Yeah.
went just
The
about like that.
Lord. Da, 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 da. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's very stereotypical of quote Christian music.
Right.
And then the other one was do you know the most holy chord, Curtis?
I think I've heard this one before, but it's been a long time. What is it?
It's G suspended
No, my
because
gosh.
if you GSUS, Jesus.
Right. Right. It's
You're
okay.
welcome for that awful dad joke.
Nice.
But those are very stereotypical your G C chord progressions on an acoustic, maybe with a tambourine lady in the corner of the stage. I don't know. But that's very stereotypical. And these guys are breaking all the stereotypes, them and
Right.
Zayo and many others now. But these guys were kind of back on that early thing like Zayo was, as far as that ground floor, breaking new ground in different areas.
Right. Yeah. I always thought it was kind of interesting that they came up, we talk about the name of deathcore, but they came up with their own genre name of goreship, which they define as worshiping God through their gore sounding music, which that one was always like, oh, okay, nice. And then kind of like O Sleeper with their pentagram, where it's just the bottom half of a pentagram and the top two are pulled off. And I think they said it's supposed to represent like the horns of the devil being torn off. Um, uh,
I remember the
I'm
song
sorry.
cut off your horns.
Yeah, that's not what O Sleeper calls theirs. I don't remember what O Sleeper calls theirs, but Impending Dooms is called a repentagram, and it's kind of
Yeah.
like that crazy, pentagram or whatever. And it's a little weird because I told Josh, I said, I think there's like only one time so far, at least, you've seen it used on like an album, whereas like O Sleeper uses theirs all the time since Son of the Morning. Um,
Yep.
but I think he said too, it's like they used it on a lot of like shirts and such. But they again going back to the deal of like making they're coming in with their beliefs and going into the deathcore and playing what they want and kind of making it their own. Same thing with making up their own genre name, their own logo too. So they're really making it their own there. And then adding to this discussion we've already had, on the original episode, me and Josh talked about, and I think it goes with the death metal, deathcore, or whatever, the brutal music, like the heavy music, the brutal lyrics that comes along with the genre. And we talked about, with what they bring in of like their Christian themes is like I mean, if you really think about it, it's like it's not all just like, sunshine and rainbows, man. I mean, especially like the Bible is like you dive into that, it's like there's some brutal stuff going on in there, man. And just like the reality of religion having a violent history in general with, and Josh brought up, the Crusades and, different stuff like that. There's a lot of violence
Mhm.
found in religion and in the Bible. So I think they look at it a different way, whereas like you're saying of just like your typical Christian music of everything's good and yada yada yada. It's like nah, not everything's good, man. I mean, there's hope. There's hope. I'm putting a light there in the darkness, but yeah, and that's one thing I kind of like about it. It's like it's not all just like this straight, everything's the same thing of oh, this song sounds just like the other song I just heard, that's, from whoever. And it's no, it's something that's a little bit different. It's like you're talking about struggles now. You're talking about, well, I'm questioning this and I'm questioning that and so on and so forth. But yeah, yeah. You got anything else to add to that?
Not really. Like I said, they're breaking stereotypes, and I kind of like that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's just again, still, there's something inside of me that's just kind of like, I can't put those two together, man. But
yeah, the puzzle
like I
pieces
said,
still. Yeah,
they just don't seem to work, but they make it work.
I don't
They
know.
make it work
They do.
themselves.
They
So
do.
I do appreciate that. Okay, let's talk about, you had mentioned, when we said we're talking about the discography just a second ago. Um, you had mentioned their first album being a little different from the sound that they're going to end up developing, and I agree with you too. I'm trying to remember, me and Josh, we finally came up with the phrase. I think we said it's our work. We're working it out album. I think that's what we used on this last episode of the History of the Course, where basically we're saying it's your first album, and you can tell that it's not bad, and it's not that it's like rough or anything. Like production wise, it's just it's gonna sound different coming later on. You haven't found your exact sound that you're going for, and so it's kind of a we're just kind of throwing something at the wall, see if what we can figure out here. And I feel like that's what Nail Dead Risen was, being their first album, their discography. It showcases pig squeals, which we're not going to hear anymore in their
No,
discography.
no.
And
That's a
it's
dying art right there.
right. And this is, well, and they kind of got in on late on the game too. I'm trying to remember what year
Mm,
Nail Dead Risen was. This is late 2000s. Um, where it's like I feel like I'm trying to remember what like Doom was like, what, '05, I think.
yeah.
Um, I know. Joffrey Cowboys Doom is like our baseline between you and me, it feels like. I know Josh is probably screaming at us, right? There's other bands, man.
Well, that's where we
Uh,
started, though. So
yeah,
that's why I always go
exactly.
back to that.
Yeah. But anyway, then you're also going to see just little glimpses here and there of what the band would eventually become, sound wise and such. But anyway, give me your thoughts on Impending Doom's debut album.
It was '07, Nail Dead
Okay,
Risen.
I was
According
thinking it
to
was
Spooderfy,
'07.
anyway.
Okay, thank you, Spooderfy.
Welcome. Let's see. First album. Gives me that subhuman cries of a large gorilla vibes. It really makes me think of the lows from early Job for a Cowboy, like we kind of mentioned.
Yeah.
Amon Amarth is another one.
Okay.
They're how to describe them? They do a lot of lows. They don't sing, that's for sure. It's kind of Viking metal, more or less.
Okay. Okay. Viking metal. Okay.
It's kind of interesting. They look like a
Those
pack of
guys dress up
Vikings
as
too.
Vikings, don't they?
I don't know if they dress up, but
Mm,
they already have the look. I didn't
okay.
take much from where they're already at.
Okay.
But
Modern
as
day
far as this,
Vikings.
yes, yeah, I guess they kind of are. They do sing about putting your back into the ore. I mean,
Put your back into the ore.
it's a really good song, actually. But anyway, I
Nice.
digress. Like I've said in the past about August Burns Red, I wish they would turn the drums down just a little bit on this album. You know, put it in the mix, not on top
Mm,
of the mix.
right.
At times, like the Handshake Murders, I'm not convinced that these lyrics are in English.
Right. Are you
These
just
lyrics,
like
at least,
yelling
fine.
random things or what?
Right. Handshake Murders, I can't find lyric booklets or anything, so I don't have any proof it's in English.
It's a dead
But
language.
for a dying lady, oh wait,
Exactly.
wow, we're way off course today.
Woo!
But definitely, I would have really enjoyed this back in my
Back in
teeny
the day.
floppy hair days. You know, when I did this, keep the hair out of my eyes.
The whiplash.
But yeah, I definitely would have put that in my rotation right next to, Job for a Cowboy and all those back in the day. So
But what about today though?
I'm kind of
Not
with you,
feeling as
like you said
much.
on the original episode, like original Job for a Cowboy. I go back and listen to it occasionally. This is one of those that, the pig squeals, that kind of sound. I just don't know that it stands the test of time real well.
Okay.
I mean, you get people like Lorna Shore now out there that you talk about subhuman cries. Forget about the gorilla. That man, it's insane what he
Woo!
can do.
Man, I listened
But
to the he
man,
was just featured on a that's Will Ramos, isn't it? From Lorna
yes,
Shore. Yeah, he was just featured on new August Burns Red single. And I mean I've heard him before, but it's been a little while. And so listen, when he comes in on that, it's like, oh my gosh, dude. It's like I feel like I need a cigar and be like, oh my God. Yeah.
but yeah, definitely very. So that's these guys. This album, Job for a Cowboy's first album. They all walked so that Ramos. I
I
don't
think
know.
it's
I said it wrong. I'm
Ramos.
sure.
Ramos.
The guy from Lorna Shore, because I'm from Oklahoma, I can't say it right.
Learn to
Anyway,
shirt.
these guys walked so he could run.
Right.
They
Somebody's got to
built
lay
the
the
steps so
foundation.
he can walk up them. I mean,
Right.
yeah. So that's kind of the way I feel on that. Is these are foundational. Not that they're bad. I probably will go back and listen to this. It's kind of like I think you said it on the original podcast, where it's like not what I go for necessarily when I'm thinking of this band, but occasionally I might think Job for a Cowboy or Impending Doom. Maybe.
Or yes. Okay, cool.
So I don't think I'm going to put it heavy in the rotation or anything, but maybe occasionally
It's
it
there.
might
Okay.
hit a play.
Okay. All right. I got a trivia question here for you, Eric. You ready?
Oh, let's get it.
I know you love these. Okay.
Oh,
What
yes.
what vocalist of a different metal band would end up producing two of Impending Doom's albums?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Hmm. Hmm.
It was Lambus, wasn't it?
It was Lambus. I was about to say I mean, the
Monsieur
answer is like
Lambus.
really, really in their music. And that kind of leads us
Oh, yeah.
into the next little topic here. So their next two albums, Servant, which number one, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you right up front. Those guitar tones are just chef's kiss, bro. Chef's kiss.
Yummy.
And the mature sound, man. I mean, that's their sophomore album. So you're jumping from Nail Dead Risen straight into Serpent Servant. It's like, oh wow, this is almost like a different band. Um, it's production wise, it's polished, but yet still raw. Okay, not over polished, which is where they're kind of going now. It feels like. But anyway, you got Serpent Servant, and then you got There Will Be Violence. Both of those were produced by As the Lay Dying vocalist Tim Lambesis, which at the time of those being released, it's kind of like we're getting to the point of some dark times, and yeah. Anyway, so besides that, um, so he produced it. Do you, Eric, hear the influence specifically in Brooke Reeves' vocals on not just those two albums, but I'll even add a third one in Baptized in Filth, even though Lambesis didn't produce it. But it feels like it kind of carries over there to me at least. But do you feel that too?
Yes.
It's and it's funny too because there's a song on I think There Will Be Violence that Lambesis is actually featured in a guest spot. And I remember telling Josh,
Orphan.
is it Orphan? Yeah, that's right. And I remember telling Josh, I was like, I couldn't tell. Because, I mean, just Reeves just sounds not like identical, but I mean, he's got a nice little influence on him for sure. So I thought that was funny. I wondered maybe if you had heard that because I don't think Josh, if I remember correctly, when I had said it to him in the beginning, I don't think that he recognized it at first, but I think he came around on it too. But
I think that's probably why I kind of enjoy this middle section quite a bit.
That's
that was a good chunk of why.
That was a big reason why it drew me in. And I talked about in the original episode that really my knowledge of Impending Doom at the beginning was just Nail Dead Risen. And it just was kind of like, at the time when I listened to it originally, it was like, I'm just not really into this, so I'm not going to dig any deeper. So going through it on the original episode and getting to these, three albums was like, oh, this is basically As I Lay Dying, man. I can do this, So, all right. So let's talk about a little Baptized in Filth here, Eric. In my opinion, my personal opinion, the way that they ended the album, Baptized in Filth, with the songs My Light Unseen, which it's funny because we've already talked several times about no clean vocals. Well, here's a clean vocal for you. I can't remember what his name is. Maybe Ryan. I think it's Ryan Clark from Demon Hunter. I think
it's Demon Hunter. I just can't remember his name though. Yeah,
I think his name's Ryan Clark, if I remember. But anyway, he's featured on there doing unclean or clean vocals. But that duo of songs, My Light Unseen, right into the finisher of Death, Ascension, Resurrection. Oh, once again, chef's kiss, man. Chef's kiss. Now, My Light Unseen, it's not, in my personal opinion, it's not the greatest song. It's a good one. It's not the greatest one. It didn't ruin the album for me at all. No way. I'm mentioning it more because of the way that, you take the album as a whole, it's like they climbed through that album, right? And they hit that song, they start to make you think as a listener that, okay, they're starting to level out. It's the album's starting to come to a close, right? And then it's like they hit that final note on My Light Unseen, it fades out, and it's like that crossfade right into that guitar riff of Death, Ascension, Resurrection. And it's just like they just like grab you and shake you violently, just wake you back up. So it's not over yet. It's not over yet. And then they end up dragging you backwards through the album against your will, mind you, with the finisher, Death, Ascension, Resurrection. Give me your thoughts, Eric, on this pairing, and what are some of your favorite 2-song combos like these two from another artist to finish an album?
I do like it. That's a pretty good way to end it. Like you said, you start feeling one way and you're like, okay, well that was the resolution.
It almost like lulls you to sleep too, the way like the rhythm is on My Light Unseen,
and then suddenly, like you said, just boom, it's there in full force.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about the energy to end the album. I love a heavy finisher. Although when I was looking into this question, I really got to looking into a lot of my bands, a lot of the albums I listen to on the regular.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but it seems like rather than ending with a heavy song, they end with a like light song or almost an acoustic at times,
Right.
like a palate cleanser or something. I guess I don't
I
know,
guess, yeah.
but I want more. I want more dessert.
I need
Forget
it
the
in my
palate cleanser.
veins. Right.
But the one that I ended up coming up with outside of, because I think you had mentioned so this one, and then I think you mentioned something from Oh Sleeper. I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember which one that was.
It's off of When I Am God. It's
Yeah.
Revelations in the Calm, which that's another one too, where it's like Revelations in the Calm is just there's a little bit of uncleans kind of in the background, but it's mainly clean vocals and just guitar. And just like kind of that rhythm of that like um the picking of the guitar kind of like lulls you to sleep too. And then the way that like it same thing where it crosses over into end of a dark camp or the end of a dark campaign, and it's just like him just like it's like what is happening, what's about to happen, and it just like hits and just like yeah.
Oh yeah. But outside of those that we'd kind of mentioned and talked about a little bit, the one I come up with is keeping the theme of today, As I Lay Dying, An Ocean Between Us.
Mhm.
So Departed is the third from the last song. So Departed being kind of a instrumental
I guess
post
that's the
rock
instrumental
ish.
one, right? Yeah.
Yep. And it's overall, I mean, it's a picking or not a picking, but a tapping kind of solo
Tapping,
sounding
yeah.
deal. And then it just jumps, I mean, straight in, like you said, so hard, shakes you violently right into Wrath Upon Ourselves. And then keeping that energy and maybe going a step further is This Is Who We Are.
Yeah.
And this was my first full album introduction to As I Lay Dying. This is the
Oh,
one I
okay.
had for the longest time. This is what I had.
Okay. Yeah.
And hearing that last song, This Is Who We Are, immediately put it right back on and listen to it again. And that's kind of the same feeling I get with this. It's just, you get that almost lull and then boom, and you're like, let's do it again. Come on.
I'm awake.
And just that energy it gives you. I really enjoy that. I don't know why more bands don't end with that heavy. Now, This Is Who We Are does end with is it a piano, I believe? I don't know. It's been 3
It's
minutes
been
since I
quite a
listened to it.
while. Yeah, it's been quite a while since I've listened to that
But
album.
anyway, that's
I mean, what he did kind of soured
love
me
the way
for a
that
little
ends.
bit, but
Right. It's a little
sometimes it's
yeah.
like well, and my other thing too is like that's another band that we're gonna eventually, maybe by the end of this year, get to talk about on a history of the chorus episode. So I started thinking about some of those bands. And I'm like, well, I don't really want to start listening to them, because I want to save that for that so I can concentrate on it then. So sometimes I have to put a band on a back burner, and wait for the time.
But that one, in
Yeah.
a similar way, really goes from that kind of lulling you to sleep to shaking you violently and, just really, I'm awake. Yep, here we are.
I'm awake. I'm awake. Shove the gun in your hand. Go, go.
I'm here. Let's go.
What
Let's
am I
go.
doing? What am I doing? Oh, yeah. Nice. Yeah, chef's kiss. God, that riff, man. I can just hear it. It's like oh, so good, so good. All right, let's carry on here, Eric. For me personally, when we get to Death Will Reign, which comes after Baptized in Filth, while still a good album, it's heavy, still good, great artwork, by the way. I personally felt that they started to get a little repetitive with their songs and their sound. Not so much really on this album, but just like especially afterwards, when we get Sin and Doom Volume 2 or Sin of Godless. I don't remember what it's called. Wherever the album is after Death Will Reign. I feel like they start That's when we start really kind of kicking in. It's like, all right, oh, this is just kind of sound the same. And me and Josh both kind of talked about like that's kind of where the genre's at right now. Is just it's kind of hard to like make something new, Oh, I've never heard this before, or whatever. Um, but this, especially like when we get to Death Row Reigns, like there's the songs just don't pop for me personally. At least as much as they did on earlier releases like Baptized and Filled, Serpent Servant, so on and so forth. Um, and the other side of that coin is those albums that we get here in the later years, they feel like they're being overproduced to me personally. Um, Give me your thoughts on the latter half of their discography and the direction that it's going.
As a whole, I feel like what you're saying kind of describes what I'm feeling. None are throwaway or trash albums at all,
Right.
but they just don't jump out at me as
Right.
much.
It
That
to
said, I do
me,
like several from those last two albums. The Sin and Doom Volume 2 and The Last
okay, yeah.
Days.
Okay.
Their sound's very nailed down at this point. I do feel like if we get another album out of them, it's going to be similar. Whether production may vary,
Right.
we seem to be heading in a direction as
Right.
far as production. But we could dial it back a little bit and get a little rawer sound out of them. That happens occasionally.
I'd be down with that.
Yep, I'm all for it. But
Yeah.
that's kind of what I'm thinking for the future wise. You're going to get another one.
Yeah. I think
Like
they're
you said,
working
it's
on one
hard. It really
currently.
is.
Yeah.
It is. It's hard to make something new.
Yeah.
I mean, even in the 70s, there were songs being released that said, every word, every song, every lyric, every pretty little thing, it's already been sung.
Right.
So here it is, a love song for you. It's the same one
Another
from
love
20
song.
years ago.
Yeah.
But that's kind of way metal is feeling right now. I mean, when metal hit the scene, it's like, whoa, I've never heard this sound before. This is amazing. But now there's only so much a guitar can do. There's
I think that's
only so
where,
much just a drum set can do.
yeah, I think we can kind of circle back around to like even just like what we talked about at the beginning of the episode of like Christian music, is man, a lot of it sounds the same, and I think a lot of these guys like broke the norm of I don't want to sound like that. I want to do something different. I want to be real, about it and everything.
Right.
So nice little circle back around there. Very nice, very nice. All right, Eric. I always like to close out an episode with your favorites, some albums, songs, lyrics, riffs, artwork. The floor is yours, Eric.
I like Floor. Floor is
Ooh,
good.
floor is good. Floor is lava.
No. Let's see. Album wise, it's a really close tie for me right now. I am
Okay.
still pretty new to this band. I've
Mm.
only been through the whole discography probably 3 times right now. I do
That's
tend
it.
to keep going. Oh, right.
I think it'd be
tend to
like
keep
just
going
once.
back. But I go back to There Will Be Violence and Serpent Servant quite a bit. It seems like
Yeah.
those are the ones that I feel like that today, and those ones get repeats, it seems like. So
Right.
as of today, right now, this very moment, nail my feet to the floor, I'd probably have to say There Will Be Violence probably nudges out at number 1. I mean,
You can almost
that much.
That's one of those albums that you just look at the album artwork and you can just hear it already. I don't even have to hear anything off of it. I can just look at the album artwork and know what's coming for me.
And it's good.
So, yeah.
And I think Josh said that's a good place to start too if you're
I think so. Yeah.
new to Impending Doom. I believe that he's right. That's a good one to start. I mean, it's if you like As I Lay Dying, if you like albums like that, that's a good place to start for you.
I agree.
So, lyrics. Got a couple here for you. This one is from Waters Run Deep. What a great way for an album opener. When waters run deep, we will stand like mountains. I am for peace, but when I speak, it is for war.
Baby, baby, baby. Nice.
That is the way to open an album.
That's
Get
sick.
me hyped for an album.
Put it in my veins now.
Yes. So the other one, this one comes from The Serpent's Tongue
Okay.
from Sin and Doom Volume 2. You have a problem with another album. That's my hard to say album. Sin and Doom Volume 2.
What was the wait? What's my album?
Was it Serpent Servant, wasn't it? So it was the
Oh, I don't remember. Maybe it was.
but anyway, it seems like you were tripping over it earlier anyway. But anyway, this is one of those lyrics that I feel like it's just so impending doom. It's so them.
Oh, that's so impending doom.
It's so them. Um,
Oh man.
let's see here. Oh, there it is. Paint your face like a corpse and smell like rotting pigs. This is just stupid. I am a Christian, a faithful man of God. Come at me. And then break down. That's just so them.
Wait, was that lyrics or a social media post?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
And then there's a breakdown directly after that line. So I mean,
nice.
It's just very so nice. Them. I was like, I can't not do that one. But
no, that was perfect, man. That was perfect.
As far as songs go, I ended up saving a bunch, roughly 2 per album.
Woo! Okay.
On average, yeah. Because I think Josh mentioned it early on, back in the early days of History of the Chorus, that he would take screenshots or write them down or whatever.
Yes, yeah.
That's what I was doing. I was screenshotting a couple.
Screenshot. Yeah.
And it ended up being about 2 per album on average. I'm okay. Like, oh my goodness, how do I nail that down for 3 good ones? So let me give you a few special mentions.
Okay.
Love Has Risen is a good one.
Okay.
Eternal, I believe that's from their latest album.
I believe so, yeah.
Oh, it's so good that I put it on here twice. Love Has Risen again.
Woo!
City of Refuge is another one.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
That is a good song. But anyway, those are special mentions. So let's get to number 3.
Number 3.
Going with Unbroken.
All right, nice.
Sin and Doom Volume 2.
Nice.
And number 2. Orphans from There Will Be Violence.
Oh, you only picked that because it's Tim Lambesis.
No,
actually, helped,
I didn't know that until it probably did. He's got a sound that I quite enjoy.
There's something about this song that just really stands out above all the others. I don't know what it is.
Why has he got to go and be a ne'er-do-well, man?
Yeah, why you got to do what you got to do? Yeah.
So, anyway, jumping into number 1.
Number 1.
Those Waters Run Deep.
Woo! Nice.
It's a shorty, but that is a good song.
Give me those lyrics again.
Let's scroll up here.
Yeah, give me them lyrics again, man.
When waters run deep, we will stand like mountains. I am for peace, but when I speak is for war.
Nice. Ooh, that'll shake it to your core, baby. Yeah, it's a short song. What'd you say? A minute?
That's one of those delivery.
Yeah.
If it's a minute and a half, maybe.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is we talked about, I don't remember what band it was not so long ago. Me and Josh were saying that, like, just reading, I guess it was A Life Once Lost, where it's like you just read the lyrics and you're kind of like, it just didn't have the same punch. And I think one of those things is his cadence with the music and everything helps. But deliverance is key, man. But when you can write lyrics all day long, man. Like for sure, yeah. But if you can put those two together,
it takes it to another level.
Oh my gosh, man.
That's where that song really comes to life.
Where does I know this is just kind of off the top of your head. You don't have to nail it down or anything, but roughly where does Brooke Reeves fall in your best vocalist, in your opinion? Top 10?
Right off the top of my head, probably so. I mean,
top 5?
Pretty good. I don't know that. as Josh said in the original episode, that's making hard decisions at that point.
Yeah, no, you're good. Like I said, I didn't want anything concrete, but I thought I'd test the waters there. But
I
all
know,
right, Eric. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Tim Lambesis is up there in the top 10. I think Dan from Zayo is probably up there. Dude's got a set of pipes that I don't even know where they came from.
Gosh, I still don't understand like how he's able to still do that after all these years, because
he's been doing it for decades.
I try to replicate that, and my throat hurts after a while. I was like, and I think he smokes too, so which that probably helps, but
or does it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe
it's one of those like fabricated. It's like it makes it sound like it's helping, but in reality, it's not. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Final thoughts, Eric, on the band known as Impending Doom.
If you're a playlist person, not that I advocate your lifestyle at all,
we will slap you. We will find you.
But if you are, it's still well worth your time to check out a few albums of this here band, Impending Doom, because every album, despite what those ridiculous reviewers say, there's at least one or two bangers off of every album. And in my opinion, they really blend with the entire album and make the album that much better. But anyway, long story short, well worth a shot if you like bands like As I Lay Dying, but you don't want to think about Tim and his
what he
doings.
did.
Or attempted to or whatever. But anyway, and maybe you want a little hope in your life or something. I don't know where you're at, what you're doing. This is a good band for you. Like, honestly, even just if you want the sound, it is a fantastic sound. So I like it. I'm probably going to put this one in my rotation a little bit more. So
nice.
Going from zero to some. So,
Yeah. That's a start, buddy. That's a start. Got to start somewhere, right? Never know. Right. Come back 5 years. This may be his favorite band. Never know, man.
You never know.
Never know. Never say never. I don't know. All righty, let's get on out of here. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at IsSurvivedByPro for news and the latest episode postings, not just on this show, but our other shows as well. We have the History of the Cores podcast, where me and Josh, almost said Eric, me and Josh talk about a band from the Cores genre. On each and every episode, we look at their history, their discography, so on and so forth. And then we come back here on this episode, on this podcast, and talk about it again. Oh. Then we also have the Red Right Hand podcast, which has covered all 6 seasons and hopefully soon to be a movie of the Peaky Blinders. And we also have the Throne of the Dragon podcast, which so far has covered season 1, soon to be season 2 of HBO's House of the Dragon. Also, while you're on Twitter, make sure to follow my co-host at Joshua Lynn Gary. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review and write us a comment on whatever podcast service you're using. And if you want to listen to us and see our smiling faces, head on over to our YouTube page. Just search Is Survived By Productions, and that'll have every episode from all of our shows. Subscribe to the channel, thumbs up the video. Alrighty, until the next episode, where I'll give you a little sneak peek. We're gonna define that grand line finally.
Woohoo!
It's been coming. It's been coming. We're gonna do it. That line will be defined. Until then, we'll see you.